They start acting distant, and most people immediately assume something has gone wrong. But that assumption is exactly where the shift begins, because distance is rarely what you think it is in the moment. It is not always rejection. It is not always loss of interest. And it is definitely not always about you in the way your mind tries to frame it. It is usually something quieter, a recalibration, a subtle internal adjustment in how you are being experienced. And the problem is, you don't see that process. You only see the output. Short replies, slower responses, less emotional tone, more space. And your mind rushes to fill that space with meaning. But here is the first trap. Meaning created under uncertainty is almost always emotional. So instead of observing what is happening, you start reacting to what you fear it means, and that reaction changes everything, not instantly, but structurally, because attraction is not destroyed in one moment. It is reshaped through patterns of response. And the first pattern that changes everything is this. What you do when you feel uncertain. When someone becomes slightly distant, the instinct is immediate. Move closer. Explain more. Reach out faster. Increase emotional signal. But that instinct is not neutral. It carries weight. And that weight is perceived even when nothing is said directly, because emotional dynamics are not built on words alone. They are built on rhythm, and rhythm breaks the moment one side starts over. What if nothing has actually collapsed yet? What if you are reacting to a shift that is still reversible on its own? Most people never consider that possibility. They assume action is required immediately, but not all distance requires response. Some distance requires observation, because sometimes what you are seeing is not disconnection, it is adjustment. And adjustment needs space to complete. When you interrupt that space with urgency, you don't fix the situation, you distort it. Because now the other person is no longer responding to their internal state. They are responding to your reaction, and that changes perception. Not because you did something wrong in intention, but because urgency always communicates something underneath the words. It communicates imbalance. Attraction is not only built on connection, it is built on interpretive space. Space where someone can think about you without pressure. Space where curiosity can form naturally without being forced. But when you fill that space too quickly, you remove the gap where curiosity lives. Now let this land slowly. When everything is available emotionally, nothing feels emotionally alive. But when access becomes slightly uncertain, attention wakes up again. Because uncertainty creates mental engagement. So the real danger is not distance itself, it is your reaction to it. Because reaction determines whether uncertainty becomes curiosity or pressure. When someone starts pulling back, they are not always withdrawing from you. Sometimes they are adjusting how they are relating to you. If you rush in during that recalibration, you interrupt it. And interrupted recalibration creates resistance. This is the cycle. Distance appears, interpretation turns emotional, reaction increases, perceived pressure rises, and attraction begins to contract. Your presence is measured by how stable you remain when communication changes. Stability under uncertainty signals control. So, when distance appears, the first correction is not action, it is internal stabilization, removing excess reaction from your system. The moment you stop overcorrecting, the dynamic stops escalating. And when escalation stops, perception begins to reset. When you over-explain, you are trying to stabilize your own discomfort. But that removes ambiguity, which keeps interest alive. Restraint does not mean absence. It means precision. It means allowing space to exist without rushing to fill it. If attraction is built through interpretation, then removing interpretation removes part of attraction itself. Your goal is not to eliminate distance. It is to prevent unnecessary distortion while distance exists. That requires emotional pacing. The strongest shift you can make is refusing to chase emotional equilibrium. Let the system recalibrate around your stability instead. Silence is just absence of feedback. If you are stable, silence becomes curiosity space. Real influence is not about increasing intensity. It is about reducing unnecessary emotional noise. Because noise destroys clarity. Do not let emotional urgency dictate behavioral output. Urgency is temporary, but behavior becomes memory, and memory becomes perception when distance appears. Do less in response, not more. Protect the structure of perception while it is still forming. Connection does not need force. It rebalances itself naturally through space, through timing, through restraint, and through the quiet stability most people underestimate until they finally realize it was the thing that mattered all along.